James grew up feeling like an outsider within his own family. As the eldest child, he had always imagined that a certain respect and pride would naturally come from being the big brother. But from early on, his reality was quite different. His parents, Laura and Tom, adored his younger sister, Emily, with a fervor that left James on the sidelines. To everyone else, Emily was extraordinary. She had the kind of magnetic charm and artistic talent that captured people's hearts. But for James, it felt like he lived in a world entirely eclipsed by her. One incident in particular stayed with him over the years, marking the beginning of his growing invisibility within his family. At age 12, after studying tirelessly, James earned the highest mark in his math class, a feat that had required weeks of late-night study sessions, self-discipline, and determination. Bursting with excitement, he rushed home to share the news. Laura sat at the kitchen table, helping Emily with a school project, while Tom read the newspaper nearby. "Mom, Dad, I scored a perfect on my math test," James announced, his heart racing with pride. Laura barely looked up, offering a quick, "That's nice, honey," before refocusing her attention on Emily, who was crafting a cardboard volcano. Tom didn't even glance his way, remaining engrossed in the headlines. But the instant Emily exclaimed, "Look, Mommy, I made a volcano," their parents sprang to life, lavishing her with praise for her talent and creativity. As the years passed, James's achievements continued to go unnoticed. He joined the school soccer team, scored his first goal, and excelled in science, but his parents were too preoccupied with Emily's recitals and her seemingly endless list of accomplishments to attend. When he asked if they could watch him play in a local match, Laura's response was a soft sigh. "James, we have Emily's dance rehearsal. She needs us there, honey. You'll understand, right?" It grew worse each year, especially around birthdays. On his 16th birthday, a milestone for any teenager, James came home expecting a small family celebration, or at least a homemade cake. But instead, he walked into a house where his parents had spent the day preparing for one of Emily's upcoming competitions. When he asked if they had forgotten his birthday, Laura's response was curt. "James, Emily's competition is so important. We thought you'd understand." The following week, however, on Emily's 12th birthday, the house was filled with colorful balloons, a custom-made cake, and a backyard magician. James watched from a distance as his parents celebrated Emily's birthday with unabashed joy, feeling invisible and heartbreakingly alone. One evening, after years of feeling like he was constantly walking in Emily's shadow, James attempted to voice his frustrations. As he entered the living room, he found his parents watching Emily practice her dance routine. Taking a deep breath, he asked, "Mom, Dad, can we talk?" Laura glanced over her shoulder briefly, her attention quickly shifting back to Emily. "Of course, sweetie. What's on your mind?" she asked, though her gaze lingered on Emily, barely making eye contact with him. James's voice trembled. I feel like you don't notice me as much as you do Emily. It's like, no matter what I do, it's never enough." Tom sighed, irritation flickering across his face. "James, your sister has a special talent. We just want to make sure she has every opportunity to develop it. You're a good kid. You don't need as much attention." Those words stung. His father's label, "good kid," echoed painfully, as though James's role in the family required nothing more than passivity and quiet endurance. That night, he went to bed feeling emptier than ever. By the time James graduated from high school, his parents' favoritism had become an open wound. He graduated with honors, ranking in the top 10% of his class and securing a partial scholarship to a reputable college. Graduation was supposed to be a celebration, a moment for family pride. But true to form, his parents had other priorities. Emily had a regional dance competition on the same day, and they chose to attend her performance instead. Standing in his cap and gown, James scanned the crowd of proud families, feeling the sting of his own family's absence. When he arrived home later that night, the house was silent. There was no congratulations, no card, not even a note. Only a text from his mother. "We'll catch up tomorrow, sweetie. Emily was amazing today." It wasn't just that they favored Emily, it was as though he didn't exist. College became James's escape, the place where he could breathe, free from his family's neglect. For the first time, he found friends who appreciated him for who he was, accomplishments and all. Each success, whether it was a good grade or an award, was something he could cherish without fearing it would be brushed aside. He no longer had to vie for attention that would never come. His efforts finally felt seen. During his sophomore year, he returned home briefly, hoping perhaps time had changed things. But as he walked through the front door, he was greeted by the familiar sight of Emily's awards and trophies on full display. His own academic accolades were absent. It was clear nothing had changed. Later that evening, his parents spoke with pride about Emily's acceptance to a prestigious ballet academy. When James mentioned making the dean's list, his mother's response was barely a nod, dismissing his success with a disinterested, "That's nice, dear." Something inside him snapped. For years, he tried to win their love, but he realized then that it was a futile pursuit. "Do you even care that I exist?" he demanded, his voice breaking. His parents' response was predictably dismissive. "James, don't be so dramatic. Emily needs us more. You're independent, and you've always been fine on your own," his mother replied, her irritation evident. By his senior year, James had built a life far from his family's indifference. His friends became his chosen family, and for once, he had people who celebrated his achievements. On graduation day, they were there, cheering, hugging him, and showering him with the support he'd never received from his own parents. After college, James began dating Rachel, a compassionate and driven lawyer he'd met through mutual friends. She understood his family dynamics without judgment, never pushing him to change things but simply supporting him. Her family, too, welcomed James warmly. Her mother, Barbara, was a particularly strong presence, calling him regularly to check in and sometimes even dropping by with homemade meals. Rachel's family became everything James had yearned for, a place of genuine love and acceptance. A few years later, when James proposed to Rachel, her family was thrilled, helping with wedding preparations and offering financial support. Rachel's mother, Barbara, even gifted him a family heirloom, a ring meant for someone who truly belongs. James was deeply moved by her gesture. He felt as though he had finally found a place where he was valued. Hoping that marriage might be the bridge to a fresh start with his parents, James arranged a visit with Rachel to announce their engagement. But as they broke the news, his mother's response was indifferent, her tone detached. "That's nice, honey. When were you thinking of having it?" she asked with the same politeness one might reserve for a stranger. With patience thinning, James asked if they could contribute financially. The rejection was swift. "We spent a lot on Emily's wedding, James. You're independent. You don't need us like she does." Heartache washed over him, mingling with a sense of finality. "I've tried so hard to make you see me, to be proud of me. But it's clear that nothing I do will ever be enough," he said quietly, standing up. Rachel, holding his hand, squeezed it in silent support as they walked out the door together, a symbolic last step in leaving behind a family that had never truly seen him. James returned to his life with renewed purpose. In the weeks that followed, Rachel's family became his rock. They embraced him, including him in every aspect of their lives and treating him as a cherished son. Barbara even took it upon herself to plan parts of the wedding, throwing herself into every detail to ensure the day was perfect. On his wedding day, James looked out at the faces of those who had truly supported him. There was no vacant seat saved for his parents or Emily. He hadn't sent them invitations. He was finally free, celebrating a new chapter with people who saw him for who he was. After the ceremony, Barbara wrapped him in a warm hug, whispering, "Welcome to the family, James. We're so proud of you." The words melted years of heartache, replacing it with a joy he'd never known. In that moment, James realized that he had found his true family, not defined by blood but by love, respect, and acceptance. He had finally come home,